In Surah Al-Alaq, Allah commands the believers not to linger in the Prophet's home unnecessarily and to avoid burdening him with long visits after meals. The verse says, "Do not enter the homes of the Prophet unless permission is given to you for a meal without awaiting its readiness. And when you have eaten, disperse without seeking to remain for conversation." Indeed, that behavior was troubling the Prophet, and he is shy of dismissing you. But Allah is not shy of the truth. Surah Al-Ahzab 3353. This verse is a divine lesson in boundaries. Even the Prophet, with all his patience and humility, needed space, and Allah did not shy away from declaring that need publicly in the Quran. This teaches us something profound. Having boundaries is not a sign of arrogance or coldness. It is a sign of wisdom and emotional maturity. It is a reflection of knowing your limits and honoring your humanity. When we don't set boundaries, we often invite chaos into our lives. We find ourselves drained, emotionally exhausted, and sometimes even resentful. Why? Because we keep giving to others without considering what we are capable of. Don't let people exploit your good nature. Islam teaches us to give, but it also teaches us to preserve ourselves. The Prophet said, your body has a right over you, your eyes have a right over you, and your family has a right over you. Bukhari, this hadith isn't just about physical rights. It's about balance. It reminds us that constantly giving to others while ignoring your own needs is not righteousness. True righteousness is measured, thoughtful, and sustainable. Furthermore, the Prophet did not allow himself to be emotionally manipulated. If someone was out of line, he corrected them. If someone asked too much, he redirected them with kindness. There were companions who made mistakes, who took liberties, and yet the Prophet knew how to correct them without being harsh, but also without being passive. This is what we must learn from. Being soft does not mean being weak. Being kind does not mean being naive. The Prophet was both gentle and firm, loving and assertive. Unfortunately, in today's world, we sometimes confuse religious humility with people-pleasing. But there is a difference. Humility is lowering yourself before Allah, acknowledging your limitations and treating others with respect. People-pleasing, however, often leads to spiritual harm. It places the approval of others above the approval of Allah. And when that happens, we begin to feel empty, because no matter how much we give, it's never enough for people who don't respect boundaries. The Sunnah shows us how to navigate relationships with balance. We help others, yes, but not at the cost of our mental health or our faith. We listen to others, but we also protect our hearts from becoming dumping grounds for negativity. We are generous with our time, but we are not reckless with it. Every moment is an AMA, and every relationship must be handled with hikmah, wisdom. Setting boundaries then is not un-Islamic. In fact, it is part of the prophetic character. It is a way of preserving your energy so you can continue to serve others in a meaningful and sincere way. It is a way of saying, I care for you, but I must also care for myself. It is a way of practicing mercy not only toward others, but toward your own soul. And when done with the right intention and with good character, boundaries become an act of worship, because they help you protect what Allah has entrusted you with: your mind, your heart, your time, and your faith. Kindness is one of the most beloved traits in Islam. The Prophet Muhammad was known for his mercy, his gentleness, and his willingness to help others, regardless of their status, background, or even how they treated him. However, in today's world, the concept of kindness is sometimes misunderstood. Many people believe that in order to be truly kind, you must accept every request, tolerate every insult, and remain silent in the face of injustice. But that's not what Islam teaches. Kindness, when not rooted in wisdom, can easily turn into weakness. And Islam does not promote weakness. It promotes strength, dignity, and justice. There is a delicate balance between being kind and being taken advantage of. The Prophet was kind, but he was never weak. He forgave, but he stood up for what was right. He was generous, but he knew when, kindness with wisdom, prophetic example, to say no. If we allow our kindness to become a reason for others to manipulate us, walk over us, or burden us unjustly, we are not practicing prophetic kindness. We are simply allowing ourselves to be misused. And when that happens over and over again, we eventually feel hurt, bitter, and even spiritually drained. Allah commands us to be just, and justice starts with how we treat ourselves. If your kindness leads to injustice against yourself, where you constantly feel exhausted, taken for granted, or emotionally broken, then something is not right. Allah says in the Quran, indeed Allah commands justice, excellence, and giving to relatives, and forbids immorality, bad conduct, and oppression. Surah An-Nahl 1690, oppression is not just what others do to us. It's also what we allow to happen when we don't speak up or set limits. It's important to recognize that Islam never equated righteousness with self-eraser. You are allowed to speak up. You are allowed to protect yourself. You're allowed to say this is not okay. Some people will tell you that enduring poor treatment is a sign of patience or humility, but enduring abuse or mistreatment without addressing it is not patience. It's submission to injustice. Even the most patient people in Islamic history, like the prophets and the Sahaba, stood up against wrongdoing. They didn't allow kindness to become a tool used against them. The Prophet taught us strength through his actions. When people disrespected the message, he stood firm. When hypocrites tried to test his patience or question his leadership, he responded with clarity and dignity. When someone crossed a boundary, he addressed it. This is the example we are to follow. True kindness is not passive, it is active, it is rooted in confidence and clarity. It does not allow others to take advantage of our silence. Furthermore, we must remember that the aim of our kindness is not to be liked by everyone. It is to please Allah. If you are constantly trying to earn people's approval by being overly available,